The luxury restaurant staff saw an elderly man in a worn coat and decided he wasn't worth their time. But they had no idea they'd just ignored a billionaire worth $8 billion. And when manager Ethan Price humiliated the only waitress who helped him speaking perfect Japanese to the confused stranger, he didn't know he was about to lose everything. Because Naomi Carter wasn't just any server, she was a woman juggling two jobs too. Save her brother from dangerous debt, and Kenji Takahara wasn't just any customer. He was a man on the run from corporate enemies, searching for the daughter he'd lost years ago. And when their worlds collided in that moment of unexpected kindness, neither of them knew that one act of compassion was about to change both their lives forever. Just before we get back to it, I'd love to know where you're watching from today, and if you're enjoying these stories, make sure you're subscribed. The crystal chandeliers of Bellevue Heights restaurant cast elegant shadows across white marble floors. Every detail screamed luxury, from the gold-trimmed menus to the velvet booth cushions. It was the kind of place where reservations required a 3-week wait and servers memorized wine vintages like scripture. Naomi Carter balanced a tray of appetizers on her shoulder, weaving between tables with practiced grace. Her black uniform was crisp despite being 6 hours into her shift. She'd already worked her morning job at the grocery store, and exhaustion tugged at her eyelids. But she kept her smile warm and genuine. The tips from his place helped pay Jordan's community college tuition. That thought alone kept her moving. The front door chimed softly. An elderly man stepped inside, his gray coat simple and unmarked by designer labels. He wore black slacks and polished but worn shoes. His silver hair was neatly combed, and his posture held a quiet dignity that went unnoticed by the hostess scrolling through her phone behind the podium. Kenji Takahara paused just inside the entrance, his dark eyes scanning the restaurant with careful observation. He noticed the seating arrangements, the flow of servers, the way light caught the glassware. Everything about his presence was understated, almost invisible. The hostess finally glanced up, her expression shifting from boredom to barely concealed disappointment. "Do you have a reservation?" Her tone suggested she already knew the answer. Kenji bowed slightly, a gesture of politeness. "I do not. Is walk-in possible?" His accent was thick, each English word carefully chosen. The hostess sighed, not bothering to check her tablet. "We're pretty full tonight. You'll have to wait." She gestured vaguely toward the entrance area, then returned her attention to her phone. No offer of water, no estimated wait time, no apology for the inconvenience. Kenji nodded and moved to the side, standing near a decorative plant. He studied the menu board on the wall, his brow furrowing slightly as he tried to parse the elaborate English descriptions. Truffle-infused risotto, pan-seared duck breast with cherry gastrique, Wagyu beef tartare with microgreens. The words blurred together. Minutes passed. Other guests entered and left. Kenji remained standing, hands folded patiently in front of him. The door chimed again. A couple strode in wearing clothes that screamed wealth. The woman's handbag probably cost more than Naomi's monthly rent. The man wore a watch that caught the light with every gesture, demanding to be noticed. Ethan Price, the restaurant manager, materialized instantly. His smile was blindingly white, his suit perfectly tailored. At 33, he'd built his career on knowing exactly who deserved attention and who didn't. "Welcome to Bellevue Heights. Right this way, please." He didn't even glance at his seating chart, leading them directly to the best table near the window. Naomi watched this exchange while refilling water glasses at table 7. Her jaw tightened slightly, but she said nothing. She'd learned that lesson her first week here. Behind her, 2 servers stood near the kitchen entrance, their voices low but not quiet enough. "That old Asian guy is still just standing there," Brandon whispered, a younger server with gelled hair and an entitled smirk. "Right? Like, dude, Google Translate exists," Chelsea added with a giggle. He probably wandered in thinking it was a buffet or something. Does he even have money for this place? I bet he orders water and asks for free bread. Their laughter felt cruel in Naomi's ears. Ethan returned from seating the wealthy couple, straightening his tie with satisfaction. He noticed Naomi glancing toward Kenji and frowned. "Don't even think about it, Carter. We need you focused on tables that actually tip. That guy's probably looking for directions to Chinatown or something." Naomi's fingers tightened around her empty tray. He's been standing there for 15 minutes, Ethan. The hostess hasn't even offered him water. Not our problem if he can't communicate properly. This is America. Ethan's voice held finality. Go check on table 12. They asked for you specifically. But Naomi's attention remained on Kenji. She noticed things others missed. The way he shifted his weight, not from impatience, but from discomfort at being ignored. The slight bow he gave whenever someone passed too close, a reflex of ingrained politeness. The careful way he studied the menu board, lips moving silently as he tried to translate. During her semester abroad program, before her mother got sick and everything fell apart, Naomi had studied Japanese culture extensively. She recognized omotenashi, the deep cultural principle of hospitality, and its opposite, the distress of being unseen despite standing in plain sight. This man wasn't confused about where he was. He was confused about why no one cared. Brandon passed by again, smirking. $20, says he leaves without ordering. Old guys like that just want to use the bathroom. Something inside Naomi snapped. She set down her tray, smoothed her uniform, and walked directly toward Kenji. Each step felt like a small rebellion against every unspoken rule Ethan had drilled into them about prioritizing the right clientele. Kenji stood with his back partially turned, still studying the menu board. Naomi stopped a respectful distance away and bowed. Not deeply, but enough to show genuine respect. "Suma Mason," she said softly. Her Japanese was careful but clear. "Nanika o tetsudai dekimasu ka?" "Excuse me, may I help you with something?" Kenji turned, his eyes widening with unmistakable surprise. For a moment, he simply stared at her, as if confirming he'd actually heard his native language in this unlikely place. Then his weathered face transformed. The tension in his shoulders released. His expression shifted from guarded patience to something resembling relief. He bowed deeper than Naomi had, holding it for a long moment. "Hi," he said quietly, his voice thick with emotion. "Arigato gozaimasu." "Yes, thank you very much." Behind them, the restaurant continued its elegant chaos, but in this small pocket of connection, something shifted. Kenji's eyes held gratitude that went beyond simple customer service. He'd been invisible for 20 minutes, and suddenly, someone saw him. "Doko ni suwaritai desu ka?" Naomi asked gently. "Where would you like to sit?" Kenji gestured vaguely, uncertain. Naomi glanced around the dining room, noting the available tables. There was a quiet booth in the corner near the window, currently reserved with a small placard for VIP walk-ins. She made a decision. "Kochura iduzo," she said, gesturing toward the premium booth. "Please, this way." She led him across the restaurant floor, aware of eyes following them. Kenji walked with quiet dignity, his movements deliberate and graceful despite his age. Naomi pulled out the chair for him, removed the reserved sign, and helped him settle into the comfortable leather seat. She placed a menu in front of him and ensured his water glass was filled. "I'll return shortly to take your order," she said in Japanese, bowing once more. "You are very kind," Kenji replied, his Japanese flowing naturally now that he could speak freely. "What is your name?" "Naomi Carter." "Carter-san." He tested the name carefully. "Your Japanese is excellent. I studied for 2 years, but I'm still learning. Please forgive any mistakes." Kenji shook his head. "Your spirit speaks the language perfectly. That is what matters." Warmth spread through Naomi's chest. Before she could respond, a sharp voice cut through the moment. "Carter, my office." Now, Ethan stood near the kitchen entrance, his face red, one finger pointed toward the back. Naomi's stomach dropped. She gave Kenji an apologetic look before hurrying toward her manager. The office was barely larger than a closet, dominated by a desk covered in schedules and complaint forms. Ethan closed the door with more force than necessary. "What the hell was that?" His voice was low but furious. "That table is reserved for VIP walk-ins. You know, people who actually look like they belong in this restaurant." He's been standing there for 20 minutes. The hostess ignored him completely. "Because he doesn't fit our clientele. Look at him. He's wearing a coat from TJ Maxx and probably can't even read the menu. And now you've seated him in our best available booth." Ethan's face was inches from hers. Do you know how much money we could lose if actual VIPs see that table occupied by some confused tourist? He needed help. So, and now you're a Japanese interpreter? Is that your new job title? Because I thought you were hired as a server, which means you follow seating protocol, not your bleeding heart. Naomi held his gaze, refusing to look down. I seated a customer who needed assistance. That's literally our job. Your job is to maximize tips and make this restaurant look exclusive. That man makes us look like a community center. Ethan jabbed a finger toward the door. If he orders water and soup, that's on you. And if you ever pull something like this again without my approval, you're done here. Understood. Naomi's jaw clenched. She thought of Jordan, of his tuition payment due next week, of the groceries running low at home. Understood, she said quietly. Good. Now get back out there and actually serve tables worth serving. Naomi left the office, her hands trembling slightly. Brandon and Chelsea watched her with barely concealed amusement as she passed. She ignored them, heading straight for the beverage station to steady herself. Across the restaurant, at a small table near the bar, a man in a dark business suit watched the entire scene unfold. Daniel Reeves looked like any other solo diner, his laptop open, a glass of wine beside his tablet. But his attention never wavered from Kenji. He lifted his phone discreetly, angling it to capture a clear photo of the elderly man. The camera clicked silently. Daniel typed a quick message, attached the photo, and sent it to an unlisted number. Target confirmed. Bellevue Heights Restaurant. He has made contact with staff member. Standing by. The response came within seconds. Maintain visual. Report all interactions. Daniel set his phone down and took a calculated sip of wine, his eyes never leaving Kenji's table. Naomi returned to the floor, forcing her professional smile back into place. She checked on her other tables, refilled drinks, delivered appetizers, made small talk about menu recommendations. But her awareness kept drifting back to Kenji. He sat quietly, studying the menu with intense concentration. His finger traced the English words slowly, his lips moving as he tried to puzzle out meanings. She noticed other things too. The way his hands trembled slightly when he reached for his water. The careful way he placed his napkin in his lap. Each movement deliberate and practiced. The patience with which he waited, never once trying to flag down a server or demand attention. When she finally returned to his table, his expression brightened immediately. I apologize for the wait, she said in Japanese. Have you had time to review the menu? Yes, but I must confess I need guidance. The descriptions are very elaborate. Naomi smiled. May I ask what flavors you prefer? I can recommend something. Something simple. I am not fond of heavy sauces or overly complicated preparations. I appreciate ingredients that speak for themselves. Then I recommend the grilled salmon with seasonal vegetables. It's prepared simply, with just lemon, herbs, and olive oil. Very clean flavors. Kenji's eyes warmed. That sounds perfect. Would you like anything to start? Perhaps some miso soup? You have proper miso here. He sounded doubtful. Between you and me, Naomi leaned in slightly. The chef makes it fresh daily. It's quite good. Then yes, please. And green tea, if possible. Of course. As Naomi wrote down his order, Kenji studied her with quiet intensity. May I ask something personal, Carter-san? Of course. Why do your colleagues treat you with such disrespect? I watch the manager scold you. I see the others whisper when you pass. Naomi's pen paused on the order pad. She chose her words carefully. People make assumptions about who deserves their attention, who deserves their kindness. She met his eyes. But I learned a long time ago that respect isn't about what people think you're worth. It's about what you know you're worth. Kenji nodded slowly, something like recognition passing over his features. You are very wise for someone so young. I've had good teachers. Life doesn't always give you what you want, but it gives you what you need to learn. Your Japanese is truly remarkable. What did you study? Naomi hesitated, old wounds stirring. I was part of a cultural exchange program in college. I spent a semester in Osaka. Actually, the family I stayed with taught me more than any textbook ever could. And you finished the program? The question landed softly, but Naomi felt its weight. No, I had to come home. My mother was sick, and my younger brother needed someone to take care of him. She forced brightness back in her voice. But I still practice when I can. Japanese dramas help. Your mother. She passed away 3 years ago. I'm deeply sorry. Thank you. She would have loved knowing I got to use my Japanese for something meaningful today. Naomi straightened, tucking the order pad away. I'll put this in for you right away. She started to leave, but Kenji spoke again. Carter-san, wait. She turned back. Thank you. Not just for the service, but for seeing me when no one else did. Something in his tone made Naomi's throat tighten. She bowed deeper this time. You are welcome, Takahara-san. She'd caught his name from his credit card when he handed it to her to hold the table. He seemed surprised she used it, then pleased. As Naomi walked toward the kitchen, she felt lighter despite Ethan's earlier reprimand. There was something about the old man that reminded her of her own grandfather, the one who taught her about dignity and grace before he passed when she was 14. The kitchen was chaos, as always during dinner rush. Naomi placed Kenji's order, then grabbed the meals ready for her other tables. She moved through her section efficiently, never forgetting a refill, never missing a request. But she kept one eye on Kenji's booth. She noticed how other servers gave his table a wide berth, as if association might be contagious. She saw Ethan deliberately directing the more obviously wealthy customers away from that corner of the restaurant. She also noticed Daniel Reeves, though she couldn't have known his name. The man with the laptop and wine seemed to be watching Kenji with unusual intensity. Once, when Kenji rose to use the restroom, Daniel's eyes tracked his every movement. The miso soup arrived first, steam rising in delicate curls. Naomi placed it before Kenji with both hands, the way she'd been taught during her homestay in Osaka. Kenji lifted the bowl, inhaling deeply. His eyes closed for a moment, and when they opened, they glistened slightly. This smells like home, he said quietly. I am Glo. The chef trained in Tokyo for 2 years. He takes his miso seriously. Kenji tasted it slowly, savoring. Please give him my compliments. This is authentic. Naomi bowed and turned to leave, but Kenji gestured to the seat across from him. Would you sit for just a moment? If your manager allows. Naomi glanced toward the kitchen. Ethan was occupied with a difficult customer at table 4. The dining room had reached that lull between dinner rush and dessert service. Just for a moment, she agreed, sliding into the booth. Kenji set down his soup carefully. You mentioned you left your studies because of your mother. That must have been a difficult choice. It was the only choice. Jordan, my brother, was only 16. Someone had to keep things together. Naomi's fingers traced the edge of the table. Mom had cancer. It came fast, and the medical bills piled up faster. Between hospital visits and trying to keep Jordan in school, finishing my degree seemed impossible. Your brother is fortunate to have you. I'm fortunate to have him. He's brilliant, actually, studying computer science now. Got a partial scholarship, but I help with the rest. She smiled, though exhaustion lived behind it. That's why I work 2 jobs. Morning shift at Parker's Grocery, evening shift here. Kenji's expression grew heavy with something like recognition. Sacrifice for family. It is both noble and painful. It's just what you do. Family takes care of family. Not everyone believes this anymore. Kenji's voice carried an unexpected weight. In my experience, many people put their own ambitions first. They forget what truly matters until it is too late. Naomi studied him more carefully. There was something in his eyes that spoke of deep regret, of lessons learned at a cost. Do you have family, Takahara-san? He was quiet for a long moment, his fingers wrapped around the warm soup bowl. I have a daughter, Ayumi. She is 38 now. He paused, the words seeming to hurt. I have not spoken to her in many years. I am sorry. That must be very painful. It is pain I earned. His honesty was stark, undefended. I chose my work over her, again and again. When she needed her father at school events, I was in meetings. When she wanted to share her art with me, I was traveling for business. When she made mistakes, as young people do, I was too harsh, too demanding. He set the soup down, and then one day, she left. She said she no longer had a father. I tried to tell myself she was being dramatic, that she would return when she matured. But she never did. Naomi's heart ached for him. Have you tried reaching out? Many times. She does not answer my letters. She changed her phone number. She built a life that does not include me, and I cannot blame her for that. Kenji's voice cracked slightly. Her mother, my wife, passed away 2 years ago. Ayumi did not tell me until after the funeral. That is how much I have failed. I'm so sorry. Kenji looked up, his eyes meeting Naomi's directly. Why do you show me such kindness, Carter-san? You do not know me. Your manager disapproves. Your colleagues mock you for it. Yet you sit here, listening to an old man's regrets. Naomi considered the question carefully. Because you remind me of my grandfather. He used to tell me that respect costs nothing, but means everything. And because I think everyone deserves to be seen, to be heard. Rich, poor, young, old, it doesn't matter. We're all just people trying to find our way. The quietest bamboo stands the tallest, Kenji said softly. It is an old saying. It means those who remain humble and strong, who do not shout their worth, are often the ones who endure. I like that. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, an unlikely connection forming across culture, generation, and circumstance. A sharp voice shattered the peace. Carter, what the hell are you doing? Ethan stormed across the restaurant, his face flushed with anger. Other diners turned to watch the commotion. Naomi stood quickly, her heart racing. I was just taking Mr. Takahara's dessert order. You were sitting down on the clock. Chatting like this is some coffee shop. Do you know how that looks? Ethan's voice grew louder. We have actual paying customers who need attention, and you're here, wasting time on small talk. He is a paying customer, Naomi said evenly, though her hands trembled. Oh, really? Let's see. 1 bowl of soup and water. Wow, what a big spender. Meanwhile, Table 14 has been waiting for their check for 5 minutes, and Table 9 wants a wine recommendation. But sure, keep babysitting someone who's probably going to leave you a $2 tip. Humiliation burned Naomi's cheeks. She was acutely aware of other servers watching, of customers pretending not to listen. I apologize. I'll attend to those tables immediately. You're damn right you will. And Carter, if I catch you sitting down again during your shift, you're cut to weekends only. Got it. Naomi nodded, unable to trust her voice. Ethan turned to leave, but Kenji spoke, his voice quiet but carrying unexpected authority. Excuse me. Ethan turned back, irritation plain on his face. Yes, sir. Is there a problem with your meal? The problem is not with my meal. The problem is with your treatment of this excellent server. Kenji's English was careful but firm. She has shown me exceptional service and courtesy. She is the only employee in this restaurant who has demonstrated true hospitality. And yet you humiliate her publicly for doing her job well. Ethan's smile was condescending. I appreciate your concern, sir, but I manage this restaurant, and I know how to manage my staff. If you have a complaint about your dining experience, I'm happy to speak with you privately. I do not have complaint about dining. I have complaint about you. The bluntness of it made several nearby diners hide smiles behind napkins. Ethan's face darkened. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice. You're disturbing other guests. Then perhaps you should not have created this disturbance by shouting at your employee. You know what? I don't have time for this. Ethan turned away dismissively. Naomi, get back to work. And you, sir, enjoy your soup. I'm sure they'll cover your bill nicely. The sarcasm dripped like venom. Naomi hurried away, mortified, aware that every eye in the restaurant had witnessed her humiliation. She grabbed the check for Table 14, processed the payment with shaking hands, then rushed to Table 9 to discuss wine pairings she could barely focus on. Brandon caught her arm as she passed the beverage station. Rough night? He asked with mock sympathy. Maybe you should stick to tables that actually matter instead of playing translator for some random old dude. Naomi pulled her arm free without responding. In the corner, Daniel Reeves watched the entire scene unfold. He made several more notes on his laptop, his expression unreadable. Then he sent another message. Situation escalating. Restaurant manager hostile. Target maintaining composure. Subject Naomi Carter providing assistance and protection. She may become a variable. The response, continue observation. Prepare for contact, if necessary. Naomi pushed through the rest of her shift on autopilot. She smiled. She served. She processed orders and payments. But inside, she felt hollowed out. She needed this job. Jordan's tuition was due in 12 days, and her checking account was already stretched thin. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She stepped into the staff hallway and checked the message. Jordan, Naomi, I need to talk. It's important. I am scared. Her stomach dropped. Jordan scared meant trouble. Real trouble. Can't talk now, she typed back. Still working. What happened? Three dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Those guys I told you about. They're saying I owe them money. They're waiting outside the campus library. I don't know what to do. Naomi's hands went cold. Jordan had mentioned some older students who'd been pressuring him to get involved in something he wouldn't specify. She told him to stay away from them, but Jordan was 19 and stubborn and trying so hard to fit in. How much? $500. I don't have it. I told them I don't have it, but they won't listen. Don't give them anything. Stay in the library where there are people. I'll come as soon as my shift ends. Naomi, they're not leaving. There's two of them, and they keep texting me. They said if I don't come out, they'll wait for me tomorrow, and the amount goes up. Stay inside. I'm serious, Jordan. I'll figure this out. She shoved her phone back in her pocket, her mind racing. $500 might as well be $5,000 right now. Her next paycheck wasn't until Friday, and even then, rent was due. When she returned to the floor, Kenji's salmon had been delivered. He ate slowly, with careful attention, but his eyes tracked Naomi's movements. He saw the tension in her shoulders, the way she kept touching her apron pocket. She approached his table to refill his water, and he spoke softly. Something is wrong. It wasn't a question. I'm fine, thank you. How is your salmon? Excellent. But you're not fine. I see worry in your face. Naomi's smile faltered. Just some family issues. Nothing I can't handle. Family issues are rarely nothing. Kenji set down his fork. Your brother? She shouldn't say anything. He was a customer. This wasn't appropriate. But the kindness in his eyes, the genuine concern, made her defenses crack. He's in some trouble. Nothing serious, but he's scared, and I can't leave to help him. What kind of trouble? Some people think he owes them money. They're pressuring him. Kenji's expression hardened. How much money? It doesn't matter. I'll handle it after my shift. Carter-san, forgive my directness, but you are clearly distressed. If your brother needs you, you should go to him. I can't. If I leave early again, Ethan will cut my hours. I need this job. Kenji reached for his wallet and placed several $100 bills on the table. Consider my meal paid for. Go. Take care of your family. Naomi stared at the money, overwhelmed. I can't accept that. It is not charity. It is payment for excellent service and even better company. And it is understanding from someone who lost his daughter because he always put work first. Kenji's voice was gentle but firm. Family first, Carter-san. Always family first. Go. Tears pricked Naomi's eyes. She bowed deeply, unable to speak, then rushed toward the staff room to grab her coat. Ethan caught her at the door. Where the hell do you think you're going? Your shift doesn't end for another hour. Family emergency. My brother needs me. I don't care if your brother stubbed his toe. You don't leave until I say you can leave. Then fire me. But I'm going. Naomi pushed past him and out into the cold night air, her breath coming in rapid clouds. Her phone said Jordan was still at the library, still inside, still waiting. Behind her, Kenji emerged from the restaurant and stood on the sidewalk, watching her run toward the parking lot. His expression was troubled but resolute. Daniel Reeves stepped up beside him, no longer pretending to be just another customer. Mr. Takahara, we need to talk. Kenji turned slowly, unsurprised. I wondered when you would approach me. You know who I am. I know I'm being followed. I know powerful people want me back in Japan. I know my freedom to be here is limited. Kenji's voice was calm. What I do not know is whether you work for them or against them. Daniel pulled out his credentials. Corporate Fraud Examiner, Federal Trade Commission. I'm trying to protect you, Mr. Takahara. The investors attempting to force the takeover of your company are operating illegally, but they're closing in. You need to be careful. I'll be careful. But first, I need to ensure someone else is safe. The waitress. She helped me when no one else would. Now she is in trouble because she chose family over work. I understand that choice better than anyone. Kenji straightened his coat. Where's the nearest library to this restaurant? Daniel checked his phone. Jackson Memorial Library. About 2 miles north. Take me there, please. Mr. Takahara, with all respect, getting involved in a domestic situation isn't wise. Your presence here needs to remain discreet. Then be discreet. But I will not abandon someone who showed me kindness simply to protect myself. That is how I lost my daughter. I will not make that mistake again. Daniel studied the old man, seeing determination that wouldn't be swayed. All right, my car is across the street. As they walked toward the vehicle, The restaurant door opened again. Ethan stood in the entrance, his phone pressed to his ear, his expression victorious. Yeah, she just quit. Walked right out mid-shift. Total disaster. No, don't worry. I'll make sure everyone knows she's unreliable. She'll never work in another decent restaurant in this city. Inside the restaurant, the other servers whispered and gossiped. Brandon collected the cash Kenji had left on the table, whistling low. Damn, the old guy left like $400. That's the biggest tip I've seen all month, and Naomi just walked away from it. Chelsea shook her head. She's so stupid. I would have just told her brother to handle his own problems. At table 7, a regular customer who'd witnessed the entire evening's events caught the owner's attention as he made his rounds. Excuse me, but who was that elderly gentleman at the corner booth? The owner, Marcus Webb, glanced over. I'm not sure. What? Because I could swear I've seen his face before. In Forbes, maybe? Or the Wall Street Journal. Marcus frowned and walked to the booth where Kenji had sat. The bills were gone, collected by the staff, but something made him check the reservation notes on the hostess stand. Noto Sebastian. Walk in. Served by Naomi Carter. He pulled up the credit card receipt Kenji had signed for holding the table. His face went pale. The signature read, Kenji Takahara. Marcus grabbed his phone with shaking hands and searched the name. The results loaded, and his blood ran cold. Kenji Takahara, founder and CEO of Takahara Technologies. Estimated net worth, $8.2 billion. Pioneer in semiconductor manufacturing and artificial intelligence integration. Known for his reclusive nature and traditional values. Recently disappeared from public eye amid reports of hostile takeover attempts. Marcus looked at Ethan, who was still on the phone, still bragging about getting rid of Naomi. They just ignored and insulted one of the wealthiest men in the world. And they'd humiliated and driven away the only employee who'd treated him with dignity. Marcus felt his career crumbling in real time. Naomi's car screeched into the library parking lot, her headlights cutting through the darkness. She spotted Jordan immediately, sitting on the front steps with his backpack clutched against his chest. Two older guys loitered near the bike racks, their postures radiating menace. She parked and ran toward her brother. Jordan! He looked up, relief flooding his face. Naomi, thank God. She pulled him into a tight hug, then assessed the situation. The two men watching them were early 20s, wearing expensive sneakers and designer jackets. One had his phone out, recording. The other cracked his knuckles deliberately. You Jordan's sister, the taller one called out. Naomi kept her brother behind her. Who's asking? Someone who's owed money. Your little brother here made promises he can't keep. I don't know what he told you, but whatever this is about, he's done. He's not involved anymore. The second guy laughed. That's not how this works, sweetheart. He took our product to sell at campus parties. We want our money or our merchandise back. $500. What product? Naomi's voice dropped dangerously low as she turned to Jordan. Jordan's eyes filled with tears. I am sorry. I'm so sorry. They said it was just energy drinks and supplements, stuff to help students study. I didn't know it was illegal stuff until after. You try to sell drugs? No, I swear, Naomi, I didn't sell anything. When I found out what it really was, I dumped it all. I threw it away. I told them I wasn't doing it, but they're saying I still owe them for the product. The taller guy stepped closer. See, that's the thing about business. You break the merchandise, you bought it. Now we need our money tonight, or your brother's gonna find out what happens to people who waste our inventory. Naomi's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Stay calm. Help is coming. Before she could process it, headlights swept across the parking lot. A sleek black sedan pulled up, and Daniel Reeves stepped out, followed by Kenji. The two men near the bike racks tensed immediately. Everything all right here? Daniel's voice carried authority that made the dealers step back instinctively. None of your business, old man. This is between us and the kid. Actually, it became my business the moment you started threatening minors. Daniel pulled out his federal credentials, letting the light catch his badge. Daniel Reeves, Federal Trade Commission, Corporate Fraud Division. And before you tell me I'm out of my jurisdiction, you should know I have friends in every branch of law enforcement. The shorter dealer grabbed his partner's arm. Bro, let's go. We're not done here. Yeah, we are. This isn't worth it. They backed away toward a car parked in the shadows, but not before the taller one pointed at Jordan. This ain't over, kid. You better watch yourself. The car peeled out of the parking lot. Naomi's legs nearly gave out. She held Jordan tighter, and Kenji approached them slowly, his expression gentle. "Are you both unharmed?" he asked in English, his accent thick but his concern clear. "Yes, thank you. Thank you so much." Naomi's voice shook. "I don't understand. How did you know where to find us?" "I told Mr. Takahara about the situation," Daniel explained. "He insisted on helping." Jordan looked between Kenji and Naomi, confusion written on his young face. "Who is this?" "This is Mr. Takahara. He was dining at the restaurant tonight. And your sister showed me the greatest kindness when no one else would," Kenji added. "When I learned she left work to protect you, I could not simply return home. I know too well the cost of choosing work over family." Naomi's eyes stung with tears. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes, I did. For my own conscience, if nothing else." Kenji turned to Jordan. "Young man, those people who threatened you, they prey on students like you. They make it seem easy, profitable, safe, but they are dangerous, and they will destroy your future if you let them." Jordan hung his head. "I know. I was so stupid. I just wanted to help Naomi. She works so hard for me, 2 jobs, always tired, and I thought if I could make some quick money, I could pay my own tuition, maybe buy her something nice for once. Your intentions were good. Your methods were foolish." Kenji's tone was firm but not unkind. "But you recognized your mistake before it was too late. That shows wisdom. What if they come back?" Daniel answered this time. "They won't. I got their license plate and their faces on camera. I'll be filing a report tonight. If they're smart, they'll stay far away from campus." Naomi wiped her eyes roughly. "I don't know how to thank you both." "You already thanked me by being yourself," Kenji said simply. "Now, it is late, and you both should go home. Rest. Tomorrow will be better." As Naomi and Jordan got in her car, she watched through the rearview mirror as Kenji stood in the parking lot, looking older and more tired than he had at the restaurant. Daniel said something to him, and Kenji nodded slowly before getting back into the sedan. The drive home was quiet. Jordan stared out the window, shame and relief warring on his face. "I really am sorry, Naomi. I know you are, and we'll talk about this properly tomorrow. But Jordan, you can't ever do something like this again. You scared me half to death. I thought I was helping. You helped by staying safe and finishing school. That's all I need from you." When they reached their small apartment, Jordan went straight to his room. Naomi collapsed on the worn couch, exhaustion crashing over her like a wave. Her phone buzzed with multiple messages. 3 from Ethan, "You're fired. Don't bother coming back. I'll mail your final check." 1 from Chelsea, "Heard you walked out. That was crazy. Good luck finding another job." And 1 from an unknown number. "This is Marcus Webb, owner of Bellevue Heights. Please call me immediately. It's urgent." Naomi stared at that last message. The owner never contacted servers directly. Her stomach knotted. This had to be about her leaving mid-shift. Maybe he wanted to make the firing official, or worse, threaten legal action for breach of contract. She decided to deal with it tomorrow. Tonight, she just needed sleep. But sleep didn't come easily. She kept replaying the evening, the kindness of a stranger who owed her nothing, the danger her brother had walked into, the job she'd lost. Morning came too soon. Naomi's alarm blared at 6. She had her shift at Parker's grocery starting at 7. She dragged herself through a shower, made Jordan promise to go straight to class and come straight home, then headed to the store. The grocery shift passed in a blur of scanning items, bagging purchases, and forcing smiles at customers who barely saw her. When her lunch break finally came, she sat in her car and called Marcus Webb. He answered on the first ring. "Naomi, thank you for calling. I need you to come to the restaurant today." Her stomach dropped. "Mr. Webb, I understand I left her in my shift. I'm sorry for any inconvenience, but my brother was in serious danger." "I know. That's not why I'm calling. Please, can you come in around 3? Before the dinner service? I'm scheduled at the grocery store until 4. This is important, Naomi. Very important. Can you leave early? I'll make it worth your time." Something in his tone made her agree. At 2:30, she clocked out of the grocery store and drove to Bellevue Heights. The parking lot was empty except for a few staff vehicles. She entered through the front, and Marcus was waiting in the lobby, pacing. "Naomi, thank you for coming. Please, let's talk in my office." She followed him, her anxiety mounting. His office was elegant, filled with awards and photos from various culinary events. Am I being sued for leaving mid-shift? Marcus looked horrified. What? No, absolutely not. Naomi, I need to ask you about last night. The elderly gentleman you served, the one at the corner booth. How did your interaction with him go? She relaxed slightly. It went well. He was very kind. Did he mention anything about himself? His work? Why he was here? Not really. We talked about family mostly. He mentioned having a daughter he hasn't spoken to in years. Why? Marcus pulled out his phone and showed her a Forbes article. The headline read, Tech billionaire Kenji Takahara vanishes amid corporate takeover battle. Naomi's eyes widened as she scanned the article. Photos of Kenji at various corporate events, looking distinguished in expensive suits. Net worth estimates. Details about his company's revolutionary technology patents. That's impossible. He was just a regular customer. He's worth over $8 billion, Naomi. He founded one of the most successful tech companies in Asia. And apparently, he's been in hiding from investors trying to force him out of his own company. Naomi sat down heavily. I had no idea. Of course you didn't. And that's exactly why he trusted you. You treated him like a human being, not a wallet. Marcus leaned against his desk. Naomi, I need to be very honest with you. What happened last night was unacceptable. The way Ethan treated you, the way our staff ignored Mr. Takahara, the way you were humiliated for doing your job correctly. I am ashamed. Mr. Webb, I appreciate that, but I fired Ethan this morning. Naomi's mouth fell open. I reviewed security footage. I saw how he spoke to you, how he prioritized appearances over actual hospitality. I also spoke to several customers who witnessed last night's events. They were appalled by his behavior. Marcus pulled an envelope from his desk drawer. This is for you. Your final paycheck, plus a bonus for the service you provided to Mr. Takahara, and a written apology from me personally. Naomi took the envelope with shaking hands. Thank you. There's more. Mr. Takahara returned to the restaurant this morning. He wanted to see you, but I explained you were fired. He was very displeased with me. He came back. He's in the dining room right now. He's been waiting for you. Naomi's heart raced. Why would he wait for me? I don't know, but he was very insistent. Marcus opened his office door. Will you speak with him? She nodded, unable to find words. Marcus led her into the empty dining room. Kenji sat at the same corner booth from last night, wearing the same simple gray coat. When he saw Naomi, his weathered face broke into a genuine smile. Carter-san, I'm very glad to see you. Mr. Takahara. She approached and bowed, deeper than before. I didn't know who you were. I apologize if I was too informal. Please sit, and do not apologize. Your not knowing who I was is exactly why our conversation was so valuable. She slid into the booth across from him. Your brother? Is he safe? Yes, thanks to you and Mr. Reeves. I don't know how to repay you. There is nothing to repay. But I do have a request. Kenji folded his hands on the table. Last night, I told you about my daughter, about my failures as a father. What I did not tell you is why I am in this city. Naomi leaned forward, listening intently. Before my wife died, Kenji began, his voice heavy with emotion. She wrote me a letter. I did not receive it until recently because I was traveling, always putting business first. Her best friend, a woman who moved to this city 40 years ago, kept the letter safe. The woman at the library last night? Kenji looked surprised. You knew we went there? Mr. Webb told me you returned this morning. I guess you had other business in the city. Yes. The librarian, Mrs. Yamamoto, was my wife's childhood friend. She gave me the letter last night, after you left. Kenji's hands trembled slightly. My wife wrote about her deepest wish, that I would find Ayumi and make peace with her before it was too late. She included information about where Ayumi might be, what name she uses now, how to reach her. Did you find her? Not yet, but I believe she is here, in this city, teaching calligraphy at a community art center. She changed her name to avoid media attention. Kenji's eyes met Naomi's. I'm terrified to face her. What if she refuses to see me? What if my presence only causes her more pain? But what if she's been waiting all this time for you to try? Kenji smiled sadly. You are very wise, but I cannot approach her alone. My Japanese is my comfort, but her mother's letter suggested Ayumi has become very American in her ways. She might not even speak Japanese fluently anymore. I need someone who can bridge both worlds. Naomi understood before he said it. You want me to come with you? I know it is asking too much. You have your brother, your jobs. I was fired last night. Kenji's expression hardened. The manager did this? It's all right. Honestly, I hated working for him anyway. It is not all right. You lost your income because you showed me kindness. I lost my income because I chose my brother over a bully. I'd make the same choice again. Before Kenji could respond, the restaurant's front door opened. Daniel Reeves entered, his expression urgent, followed by two men in expensive suits. Mr. Takahara, we have a situation. The two men approached the booth, and Naomi recognized the predatory confidence of corporate lawyers. Mr. Takahara, the older one, said, we represent the consortium of investors who hold 43% of Takahara Technologies. We've been trying to reach you for 6 weeks, and I have been avoiding you for 6 weeks. I believe that sends a clear message. Sir, with all respect, you cannot simply abandon your company. The board has called for an emergency meeting. Your presence is legally required. I am on personal leave. Personal leave requires board approval for a CEO. You disappeared without authorization. The stockholders are getting nervous, and that's affecting share prices. Kenji remained calm. My company has excellent leadership in my absence. The stock will recover. The younger lawyer stepped forward. Mr. Takahara, we can do this easily, or we can do this with court orders. Either way, you're returning to Japan with us tonight. Daniel moved between them and the booth. Gentlemen, Mr. Takahara isn't going anywhere unless he chooses to. You have no legal authority to force him. We have authorization from the board of directors. A board of directors is not a court of law. Unless you have an actual warrant, you need to leave this restaurant. The older lawyer's eyes narrowed. We know about the investigation, Mr. Reeves. We know you've been looking into our business practices, but we've done nothing illegal. Then you have nothing to worry about. Now leave. The tension in the room was suffocating. Naomi watched Kenji, saw the weariness in his expression, the weight of decades of corporate battles pressing down on him. Marcus Webb appeared from the kitchen, his phone in his hand. Gentlemen, I've called the police. Unless you're customers, I need you to leave my establishment immediately. The lawyers exchanged glances, then the older one placed a business card on the table. Mr. Takahara, we'll be at the Meridian Hotel. Think carefully about your next move. The board meeting is scheduled for Monday in Tokyo. If you're not there, they will vote to remove you as CEO. Everything you built will be taken by people who don't understand your vision. They left, and the restaurant fell silent. Kenji picked up the business card and turned it over slowly in his fingers. They are not wrong, he said quietly. If I do not return, I lose my company. Everything I sacrificed for, everything I chose over my family, will belong to strangers. What do you want to do? Naomi asked gently. I want to see my daughter. I want to apologize. I want one chance to be the father I should have been. He looked at her with ancient eyes. But I have only 3 days before that board meeting. If I miss it, I lose everything. Then we don't have time to waste. Kenji studied her. You will help me? You helped my brother when you didn't have to. You defended me when no one else did. Of course I'll help you. Marcus cleared his throat. Mr. Takahara, Naomi, I don't mean to intrude, but I should mention something. After you left last night, I realized who you were, and I may have mentioned it to a few people. Word has spread. There are reporters outside right now. They all turned to look at the front windows. Sure enough, 3 people with cameras stood on the sidewalk, trying to peer inside. This is very problematic, Kenji said. If they discover where I am going, they will follow. They will turn a private family matter into entertainment. Daniel was already on his phone. I can arrange a secure vehicle. We can exit through the back, lose any tail, and get you where you need to go. The Arts Center is in the Riverside District, Kenji said. According to my wife's letter, Ayumi teaches calligraphy classes on weekday afternoons. Naomi checked her phone. It was 3:40. If we leave now, we might catch her. Daniel nodded. My car is out back. Let's move before more press shows up. They hurried through the kitchen, past surprised line cooks and dishwashers, and out the rear exit. Daniel's sedan sat in the alley, engine already running remotely. As they climbed in, Naomi caught sight of movement. A camera flash from the corner of the building. Someone had spotted them. Drive, Daniel said sharply, and they pulled out into traffic. The drive to Riverside took 20 minutes. Kenji sat in the back seat beside Naomi, his hands clenched together, his breathing shallow. What if she will not see me? He whispered in Japanese. Then we try again tomorrow, Naomi answered in the same language. And the day after. Until she's ready. There may not be another day. If I miss the board meeting, then you miss it. Mr. Takahara, which matters more, the company you built or the daughter you lost? He closed his eyes. I have asked myself this question for 2 years. Every night, I wake up knowing the answer. But letting go of something you work your entire life for is not simple. Nothing important is ever simple. They pulled up to the Riverside Community Arts Center, a converted warehouse with large windows and colorful murals on the walls. Through the glass, Naomi could see several classrooms, each filled with students engaged in different activities. Daniel pointed. That room there in the back. Those look like calligraphy supplies. Kenji's breath caught. A woman stood at the front of the classroom, demonstrating brush strokes on a large paper. She was slender, with long black hair pulled into a loose bun, wearing simple clothes that were covered in ink stains. That is her, Kenji whispered. That is Mayumi. His hand reached for the door handle, then froze. I cannot do this. I am not ready. Naomi took his other hand. You will never feel ready. But your wife wanted this. Ayumi deserves this. And you need this. Kenji looked at her, tears gathering in his eyes. Will you come with me? I do not think I can walk in there alone. Of course. They got out of the car, leaving Daniel to keep watch. The Arts Center's front door was unlocked, and they entered quietly. Music drifted from one classroom, pottery wheels hummed in another, and the smell of paint and creativity filled the air. As they approached the calligraphy room, Ayumi looked up. For one frozen moment, father and daughter locked eyes across the space. Recognition flashed across Ayumi's face, followed immediately by shock, then something that looked like pain. She set down her brush carefully, spoke briefly to her students, and walked out of the classroom into the hallway. Kenji followed, and Naomi stayed a few respectful steps behind. Ayumi's voice was cold, controlled. How did you find me? Your mother's friend, Mrs. Yamamoto. She gave me a letter your mother wrote before she died. Mom knew where I was. Yes, she respected your wish for privacy, but she left me a way to find you, hoping I would be brave enough to try. Ayumi's composure cracked slightly. And what do you want? Forgiveness? Reconciliation? Some heartwarming moment you can take back to your board members to prove you're human? The words cut deep. Kenji flinched but stood his ground. I want to apologize. I want to tell you that you were right about everything. I was a terrible father. I chose my company over you, over your mother, over everything that mattered. And I have regretted it every single day since you left. Regret doesn't change the past. No, it does not. But perhaps it can change the future. Ayumi's eyes finally shifted to Naomi. Who is she? My name is Naomi Carter. I'm helping your father with translation, but really, I'm just here for moral support. You're American? Yes. And you speak Japanese? I studied in Osaka for a semester. Something in Ayumi's expression softened marginally. Why would you help him? What is he paying you? He's not paying me anything. He helped my brother when he didn't have to. He defended me when my boss humiliated me. He showed me kindness when he had every reason to worry about his own problems instead. Naomi chose her next words carefully. Your father told me about you, about how he failed you. He doesn't expect you to forgive him. He just wants the chance to say he's sorry. Ayumi's eyes glistened. Do you know what it's like to spend your childhood competing with a company for your father's attention? To perform in recitals he never attended? To win art competitions he never acknowledged? To need him after mom got sick, only to have him send assistance instead of coming himself? No, Naomi said honestly. But I know what it's like to lose a parent. And I know that anger and pain are easier to carry than grief. But they're also heavier in the long run. Ayumi looked at her father, really looked at him, perhaps for the first time in years. She saw the gray hair, the deep lines around his eyes, the tremor in his hands. You look old, she said softly. I am old, and I am tired, and I have wasted too much time on things that do not matter. Kenji's voice broke. Your mother's last wish was for us to reconcile. I do not know if that is possible, but I had to try. I owed her that much. I owe you that much. The hallway fell silent except for the distant sounds of art classes continuing in their creative bubble. Finally, Ayumi spoke. I can't forgive you today. Maybe not tomorrow either. But I'll listen. For Mom's sake, I'll listen. Kenji's shoulders sagged with relief. He bowed deeply, holding it until Ayumi placed a hand on his shoulder. Stop. People are staring. He straightened, and for the first time in years, father and daughter stood in the same space without anger as the only bridge between them. Naomi stepped back, giving them room, her heart full of hope for this broken family finding its way back together. Outside, Daniel received a text message. His face went pale as he read it. The corporate lawyers had gotten a court order. Federal marshals were being dispatched to bring Kenji back to face the board. They had less than an hour before everything changed. The last afternoon sunlight filtered through the arts center windows, casting long shadows across the hallway where Kenji and Ayumi stood in uncertain silence. Students passed by with curious glances, sensing the emotional weight between the elderly man and their instructor. Ayumi crossed her arms, a defensive posture that spoke volumes. I have a class finishing in 20 minutes. We can talk after that, but I'm not making any promises. I will wait as long as necessary, Kenji said quietly. She turned to re-enter her classroom, then paused. Does your company know you're here? They know I am in the city. They're trying very hard to force me back to Japan. Good. The word carried old bitterness. Let them see what it feels like when someone chooses something else over them. She disappeared into the classroom, leaving Kenji standing in the hallway looking lost. Naomi gently touched his arm. That went better than you feared. She agreed to talk. That is more than I deserve. They returned to the lobby, where Daniel was pacing near the entrance, his phone pressed to his ear. When he saw them, his expression was grim. We have a problem. The corporate lawyers filed an emergency petition claiming you're mentally unfit to make decisions due to age-related decline. A judge issued a temporary order for a medical evaluation. Kenji's jaw tightened. They're claiming I am senile. It's a legal tactic. If they can get a court-ordered evaluation, they can delay everything while questioning your competency. It buys them time to consolidate control of the company. This is outrageous. I am perfectly sound. I know that. But federal marshals are being sent to escort you to a medical facility. They'll be here within the hour. Naomi felt ice in her stomach. Can they do that? Just take him. With a judge's order? Yes. And once he's in their custody, the evaluation could take days, maybe weeks. By then, the board meeting will have passed, and they'll vote him out as CEO. Kenji closed his eyes, decades of corporate warfare written in the lines of his face. They're very clever. They know I will not run or resist authorities. They know I came here for personal reasons, and they're using it against me. What do you want to do? Daniel asked. I could try to appeal the order, but that takes time we don't have. How long do we have? 45 minutes, maybe an hour. Kenji looked back toward the hallway where Yumi's classroom was located. Then I have 45 minutes to speak with my daughter. That is what I came here for. That is what matters. Mr. Takahara, if the marshals take you, you might not get another chance. They'll put you on a plane to Japan immediately after the evaluation. Then I will have 45 minutes with Ayumi. That is 45 minutes more than I have had in years. Daniel started to argue, then stopped. He recognized the quiet determination in Kenji's voice. Some decisions transcended logic. Naomi's phone buzzed. Jordan calling. I need to take this, she said, stepping away. Jordan? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to check on you. You left work early, and I was worried. I'm Fine. I'm helping Mr. Takahara with something important. The old guy from last night? Naomi, I looked him up. He's a billionaire. Like an actual billionaire. It's all over the news that he's missing. He's not missing. He's exactly where he needs to be. Are you safe? Some of these articles make it sound like there's corporate espionage and hostile takeovers and all kinds of serious stuff. Warmth spread through Naomi's chest. After everything with the drug dealers, Jordan was still worried about her. I'm safe. I promise. Are you at home? Yeah. I skipped my afternoon class. I felt weird going after last night. That's okay. Just stay home, lock the door, and I'll be back in a few hours. Naomi. Yeah. Thank you for coming to get me last night. I know I messed up bad. I know you lost your job because of me. I didn't lose my job because of you. I lost it because I have a terrible manager. And honestly, I'm glad I don't work there anymore. Still, You're the best sister anyone could have. You're not so bad yourself when you're not making terrible decisions." Jordan laughed, and they said goodbye. When Naomi returned to Daniel and Kenji, the older man was watching her with gentle eyes. "Your brother is well?" "He's fine. Worried about me helping you, actually. He is protective of you." "That is good. It means he learned from his mistake." 20 minutes crawled by. They sat on benches in the lobby, watching the clock. Students filtered out as classes ended, and the building grew quieter. Finally, Ayumi emerged from the hallway, an oversized bag slung over her shoulder, her hair now loose around her face. She stopped when she saw them waiting. "I thought you might have left." Kenji stood. "I promised I would wait." Ayumi studied him for a long moment, then gestured to a small courtyard visible through glass doors. "We can talk outside. I need fresh air." The courtyard was simple but peaceful, with wooden benches arranged around a small fountain. Ayumi sat on one bench, and Kenji took the other, maintaining careful distance. Naomi and Daniel remained inside, giving them privacy but staying close enough to intervene if the marshals arrived. Through the glass, Naomi watched the conversation unfold. She couldn't hear the words, but she saw Kenji's body language, the way he bowed his head when speaking, the way his hands gestured with careful emphasis. She saw Ayumi's rigid posture slowly soften, saw her wipe her eyes once, twice. "They look like strangers learning how to be family again," Daniel observed quietly. "That's exactly what they are. For what it's worth, I think you did a good thing, helping him find her. I just translated a drove. He did the hard part. No, you did more than that. You gave him courage when he was ready to give up. You showed him that kindness still exists in the world." Daniel checked his watch. "We have maybe 20 minutes left." Outside, the conversation intensified. Ayumi stood abruptly, her voice rising enough that they could hear emotion, if not words. Kenji remained seated, his head bowed, absorbing whatever pain she needed to release. Then something shifted. Ayumi sat back down, closer this time. She was talking now, her hands moving in animated gestures, and Kenji was listening with absolute focus. Naomi's phone rang. "Marcus Webb." "Naomi, where are you?" "There are federal marshals at my restaurant looking for Kenji Takahara. They're asking if I know where he went." "What did you tell them?" "Nothing. But they're not just asking nicely. They have legal authority to search for him, and they mentioned you might be with him." "Marcus, I need you to stall them. Please, just give us a little more time." "Naomi, I can't obstruct federal agents. I'm not asking you to obstruct anything. Just be slow. Take your time answering questions. Maybe mention you think we went to several different places." Marcus was silent for a moment. "How much time do you need?" 20 minutes. Maybe less." "All right. But Naomi, be careful. Whatever you're involved in, it sounds serious." "It is serious, but it's also important." She ended the call and told Daniel. He swore quietly. "They're moving faster than I expected. We need to go." "Not yet. Look." In the courtyard, Ayumi had moved to sit beside Kenji on the same bench. Not touching, but the physical proximity spoke of barriers beginning to crumble. Kenji was crying now, silent tears streaming down his weathered face, and Ayumi's own eyes were red and swollen. 5 more minutes, Naomi said firmly. "They deserve 5 more minutes." Daniel nodded, though tension radiated from him. Those 5 minutes felt eternal and too brief at once. Finally, Ayumi and Kenji stood. They faced each other, and then, with visible hesitation, Ayumi embraced her father. It wasn't a long embrace, and it looked awkward, unpracticed after years of distance. But it was real. Naomi felt tears on her own cheeks. They came back inside, both looking emotionally exhausted. Ayumi's eyes were puffy, her voice hoarse. "I can't promise everything is fixed. I can't promise I'm ready to have you back in my life completely. But Mom wanted this, and I owe her the effort to try." "That is more than I hoped for," Kenji said. "Thank you, Ayumi. Thank you for listening. I have one condition. Anything. No more choosing the company over family. If we're going to try this, you have to actually be present. Not just physically here, but actually present." Kenji nodded. "I promise. No more company before family." Daniel cleared his throat. "I hate to interrupt, but we really need to leave." "Now, what's happening?" Ayumi asked. Federal marshals are coming to take your father for a medical evaluation. It's a legal maneuver by his company to force him back to Japan. Ayumi's expression hardened. Of course it is. They can't let him be human for 5 minutes. We should go, Kenji said to Naomi and Daniel. I will not let you two get in trouble for helping me. Where will you go? Ayumi asked. I do not know. Away from here before the authorities arrive. Come to my apartment. It's 10 minutes away, and they won't think to look there. Kenji looked surprised. You would hide me? I'm still angry with you. But I'm angrier at the people trying to control you. Ayumi kaphiapake. Let's go. They drove in 2 cars to avoid attention. Ayumi led in her small hybrid, with Kenji riding beside her. Naomi and Daniel followed in his sedan, keeping watch for any signs of pursuit. This is getting complicated, Daniel muttered, checking his mirrors constantly. Helping him avoid a court order crosses legal lines I'm not comfortable with. He's not avoiding it. He's just taking a few hours to be with his daughter before facing whatever comes next. Tell that to a judge. Would you rather he spent tonight in federal custody being evaluated by doctors who are probably being paid by his own company to declare him incompetent? Daniel sighed. You're right. I just hope we don't all end up in cells next to him. Ayumi's apartment was in a converted industrial building, the kind that used to house factories and now held artist lofts. Her unit was on the 3rd floor, accessed by a freight elevator that groaned ominously as they ascended. The apartment itself was beautiful in its chaos. Canvases covered every wall, some finished, some still in progress. Calligraphy scrolls hung from the ceiling. Tables overflowed with brushes, ink bottles, and paper. It smelled like paint and incense and creativity. Sorry for the mess, Ayumi said, clearing space on a worn sofa. I wasn't expecting company. Kenji looked around with wonder. You created all of this. Most of it. The rest is from students whose work I wanted to keep. Your mother would be so proud. She always said you had her artistic soul. Ayumi's expression flickered with grief. I wish she could have seen my first gallery show. I finally had one last year. It sold out in 3 days. Truly, critics called my work a unique fusion of traditional Japanese calligraphy and modern American expression. She managed a small smile. Apparently being caught between 2 cultures makes for interesting art. I'm sorry I was not there to see it. Yeah, well. Ayumi turned away, busying herself with making tea. You're here now. Naomi's phone rang again. Jordan, his voice tight with panic. Naomi, there are men outside our apartment building. The same ones from last night, I think. They're just sitting in a car, watching the entrance. Her blood ran cold. Are you sure it's them? Pretty sure. Black SUV. Tinted windows. One of them keeps looking up at our floor. Did you call the police? And tell them what? Some guys are sitting in their car? That's not illegal. Naomi looked at Daniel, her heart racing. He must have sensed trouble because he was already standing. Jordan's in danger, she said. The guys from last night are back. Daniel pulled out his phone. What's your address? She told him, and he made a quick call. I'm sending a patrol unit to your building. They'll do a wellness check and make sure those men leave. Thank you, Naomi said to Daniel, then to Jordan, stay inside. Lock the door. Police are coming. But Jordan's voice was strange. Naomi, they're getting out of the car. They're coming to the entrance. Jordan, listen to me. Do not open the door for anyone. They're in the building. I can hear them in the stairwell. Panic flooded her system. Hide. Right now. Get in the bathroom and lock the door. Through the phone, she heard footsteps. Then Jordan's breathing, fast and scared. Then pounding on their apartment door. Jordan Carter, open up. We know you're in there. Naomi, what do I do? Kenji stood, his face resolute. We go to him. Now, Mr. Takahara, if you leave this apartment, the marshals might find you, Daniel warned. I do not care. That boy is in danger because I delayed us last night. I will not let him be harmed. Ayumi grabbed her keys. My car seat's for. Let's go. The drive to Naomi's apartment complex felt like hours compressed into minutes. Naomi stayed on the phone with Jordan, hearing the pounding continue, hearing voices threatening him through the door. They're saying I have until the count of 10 to open up, or they're breaking in. Naomi, I'm scared. I'm almost there. Just hold on. Daniel had called for backup, but response times were never guaranteed. They had to get there first. Ayumi drove like someone who knew every shortcut in the city. She ran 2 yellow lights and ignored a stop sign, her jaw set with determination. Your brother is lucky to have you, she said to Naomi. Just like you're lucky to have your father. Ayumi glanced at Kenji in the rearview mirror. Jury's still out on that. But there was less anger in her voice now. More possibility. They screeched into the apartment complex parking lot. The black SUV was there, engine still running. Naomi jumped out before the car fully stopped and sprinted toward the entrance. The building was old for stories with external stairs. She took them 3 at a time, her lungs burning. Behind her, she heard Kenji struggling to keep pace, heard Daniel shouting for her to wait. She reached the 3rd floor and saw them. 3 men outside her apartment door. One had a crowbar, working at the lock. Another held a baseball bat. The 3rd was recording on his phone. Get away from my door. They turned, and recognition flashed across the leader's face. The tall one from the library. Well, well. Big sister comes to the rescue again. I call the police. They're on their way. Then we better make this quick. He gestured to the one with the crowbar. Get it open. Naomi threw herself at the door, putting her body between them and the entrance. You're not touching my brother. The man with the baseball bat stepped forward. Lady, move, or you're going to get hurt. Then you'll get arrested for assault. Is that what you want? We want what we're owed. Your brother destroyed our merchandise. Someone pays for that. Kenji appeared at the top of the stairs, breathing hard, his hand on his chest. But when he spoke, his voice carried authority that made all 3 men pause. Leave. Now. The leader laughed. Who's this? Grandpa coming to save the day. I am someone who has dealt with men like you my entire life. Men who use fear and violence because they have nothing else of value to offer. Kenji straightened, and despite his age, despite his simple clothes, something in his bearing commanded attention. You want money? How much? What? The merchandise this boy destroyed. How much was it worth? $500. Here is 1,000. Kenji pulled bills from his wallet, the money he'd planned to use for dinner with Ayumi. Take it and go. You're paid twice over. You have no reason to return. The men exchanged glances, greed warring with pride. How do we know you're not a cop? Do I look like a cop? The leader snatched the money, counted quickly. This doesn't mean we're done. If we see the kid again, you will see him at his college graduation, perhaps, Kenji interrupted, where he will be surrounded by family and friends and a future you cannot imagine. And you will remember that you once tried to destroy that future for $500. Ask yourself then if it was worth it. Something in the leader's expression shifted. Maybe shame, maybe just calculation. Either way, he pocketed the money and gestured to his friends. Come on, this is stupid anyway. They left, their footsteps heavy on the metal stairs. Daniel appeared moments later, out of breath. Where are they? Gone, Naomi said. She knocked on the door. Jordan, it's me. You can come out. The door opened slowly. Jordan stood there, pale and shaking, his phone still in his hand. When he saw Naomi, he collapsed into her arms. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. You're safe. That's all that matters. Kenji leaned against the wall, his face gray with exhaustion. Ayumi rushed to support him. Dad, sit down. You shouldn't have run up all those stairs. I am fine. You're not fine. You look like you're about to pass out. He tried to wave her off, but his hand trembled violently. His breath came in short gasps. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Mr. Takahara, Naomi's medical training from her brief time as a nursing student kicked in. His lips had a slight blue tinge. His skin was clammy. Are you having chest pain? Just tired. Too much excitement. Dad, answer her. Are you having chest pain? He hesitated, then nodded. A little. It will pass. No, it won't. Daniel was already on the phone with emergency services. We need an ambulance. Possible cardiac event. I do not need an ambulance. I just need to rest. But even as he said it, Kenji's legs gave out. Ayumi and Naomi caught him, lowering him gently to the hallway floor. Dad, stay with me. His eyes were open but unfocused. His breathing was shallow and rapid. Jordan knelt beside them. What can I do? Get him water, Naomi said, and a blanket if you have one. She loosened Kenji's collar, checked his pulse. It was erratic too fast. The stress of the last 2 days, the emotional turmoil, the physical exertion, his age, it had all caught up to him at once. Ayumi held her father's hand, tears streaming down her face. You can't do this. We just started talking again. You can't leave now. Kenji's eyes focused on her face. He smiled weakly. I gotta see you. That is enough. No, it's not enough. It's not nearly enough. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Naomi had never felt so helpless. This man who'd shown her family such kindness, who'd traveled across the world to make peace with his daughter, who'd defended her brother despite his own problems. He was slipping away right in front of them. Jordan returned with water and a blanket. They covered Kenji, tried to keep him comfortable. His breathing grew more labored. The ambulance is 3 minutes out, Daniel reported. Hang on, Mr. Takahara. Just hang on. Kenji's grip on Ayumi's hand tightened. He spoke in Japanese, his voice barely a whisper. Ayumi leaned close to hear. I'm sorry I was not the father you needed, but I'm grateful I got to see the woman you became. Your mother was right. You are stronger than I ever was. Don't talk like that. You're going to be fine. Ayumi, promise me something. Anything. Live fully. Do not let anger steal your joy as I let ambition steal mine. And thank Carter-san for me. She gave me back my daughter. His eyes closed. Dad, Dad. The paramedics burst through the stairwell door moments later, equipment in hand. They took over immediately, professional and efficient. Vital signs checked. For started. Oxygen administered. Questions asked and answered in rapid succession. They loaded Kenji onto a stretcher, and Ayumi refused to leave his side. She climbed into the ambulance with him, her face a mask of fear and determination. As the ambulance pulled away, lights flashing, Naomi stood in the parking lot feeling the weight of everything that had happened. Daniel put a hand on her shoulder. You did everything you could. I dragged him all over the city. I let him run up 3 flights of stairs when he should have been resting. You helped him find his daughter. You helped him make peace before it was too late. Those are gifts, Naomi. Whatever happens now, you gave him those gifts. Jordan stood beside her, silent tears running down his face. She pulled him close. Is he going to die? Jordan whispered. I don't know. I hope not. They stood there together, watching the ambulance disappear into the evening traffic, carrying a father who'd finally found his way home only to risk losing everything just as it began to matter again. The emergency room at Memorial Hospital was a controlled chaos of beeping monitors, hurried footsteps, and urgent voices. Naomi, Jordan, and Daniel sat in the waiting area, the fluorescent lights harsh against their exhausted faces. An hour had passed since the ambulance brought Kenji in, and they'd heard nothing. Ayumi finally emerged through the double doors, her face streaked with tears, her hands still trembling. She collapsed into the plastic chair beside Naomi. They're stabilizing him. His heart went into an irregular rhythm from the stress and exertion. They're saying it's severe exhaustion combined with a cardiac episode. Her voice cracked. He could have died on those stairs. But he didn't, Naomi said gently. He's here, and they're helping him. Because he was trying to protect your brother. Because I let him run up 3 flights of stairs when I should have made him stay in the car. Ayumi buried her face in her hands. We just started talking again. We just started, and now I might lose him anyway. Jordan spoke quietly from across the row. I'm sorry. This is my fault. If I hadn't gotten involved with those guys, none of this would have happened. Ayumi looked up at him, really seeing him for the first time. How old are you? 19. My father and I stopped speaking when I was 21. I told myself I hated him, that I was better off without him. I spent 17 years being angry. She wiped her eyes roughly. Don't waste time being sorry. Just be better. That's what matters. Before Jordan could respond, a doctor approached, her scrubs decorated with small cartoon hearts. She looked tired but composed. Family of Kenji Takahara. They all stood. I'm his daughter, Ayumi said. How is he? Stable for now. We've got him on medication to regulate his heart rhythm and manage the stress response. He's going to need to stay here at least overnight for observation, possibly longer depending on how he responds to treatment. Can I see him? Yes, but only immediate family for now. He needs rest and minimal stimulation. Ayumi started toward the doors, then turned back to Naomi. Will you come with me? Please? I don't want to do this alone. I'm not family. You're the reason we're even talking. That makes you family enough. The doctor nodded permission, and Naomi followed Ayumi through the emergency department to a private room in the back. Medical equipment surrounded a bed where Kenji lay, looking smaller and more fragile than Naomi had ever seen him. An oxygen tube rested beneath his nose, and 4 lines ran to his arm. But his eyes were open, and when he saw Yumi, relief washed across his face. "You stayed," he whispered in Japanese. Ayumi pulled a chair close to the bed. "Of course I stayed. Where else would I be? I thought perhaps you would decide this was too much trouble. That I was too much trouble. You are too much trouble. But you're also my father." She took his hand carefully, avoiding the 4 line. "The doctor says you need a rest. No stress, no excitement, no running upstairs to rescue college students." A ghost of a smile touched Kenji's lips. "The boy is safe. Everyone is safe except you." Then it was worth it. Ayumi's composure finally shattered. The tears she'd been holding back flooded out in great, gasping sobs. "You can't do this. You can't come back into my life and then leave again. That's not fair." Kenji's own eyes filled. "I'm sorry, my daughter. I'm sorry for so many things. Tell me. I want to hear it. All of it." So Kenji began to speak. His voice was weak, interrupted by coughs and pauses to catch his breath. But the words poured out like water from a broken dam. He told her about missing her 5th birthday because of a board meeting that could have been rescheduled. About the piano recital where she played Chopin perfectly and he wasn't there to hear it because he was in Singapore negotiating a merger. About her high school graduation when he arrived late and left early, more concerned with phone calls than celebrating her achievements. He told her about the art scholarship she won to study in Paris, how proud he was, but how he'd criticized her for wanting to pursue art instead of business. About the terrible fight they had when she dropped out of university to follow her passion, how he'd called her foolish and ungrateful. "You were 21, Kenji said, his voice breaking. "You came to my office to tell me you were leaving, that you couldn't live in my shadow anymore. And I told you that if you walked out that door, you were no longer my daughter." Ayumi nodded, the memory clearly painful. "You said I was throwing away my future for childish fantasies. I was wrong. I was so terribly wrong. You were not throwing away your future. You were claiming it. And I was too proud, too convinced that my way was the only way to see that. Mom tried to make you understand. Your mother was wiser than I ever was. She saw your strength, your talent, your courage. She begged me to apologize, to reach out to you. But I was stubborn. I told myself you would come back when you matured, when you realized I was right." He closed his eyes. "And then she got sick. I didn't know until it was almost too late. She hid it from me because she didn't want me to come back out of obligation. She made me promise not to contact you until you were ready. She said forcing you would only drive you further away. So I stayed silent, even when I wanted desperately to call you, to beg your forgiveness." Kenji's breath hitched. "When she died, I lost the only person who truly understood how much I had destroyed. And I lost any chance of you forgiving me while she was there to help bridge the gap." Ayumi squeezed his hand. "I should have been there for the funeral. I was angry at you, but she didn't deserve that. She understood. She always understood." They sat in silence for a moment, years of pain and regret hanging in the air between them. Finally, Ayumi spoke, her voice steady despite her tears. "When I was little, before everything got complicated, you used to take me to the park on Sunday mornings. Do you remember? Of course. You loved the swings. You'd push me so high, I felt like I was flying. And you'd always say the same thing. Higher, Ayumi-chan. Reach for the clouds. I felt like you believed I could do anything. I did believe that. I still do. Then why did you stop pushing? Why did you start holding me back instead?" Kenji was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. "Because I was afraid. I watched you soar, and I realized you did not need me anymore. And instead of being proud, I became afraid of losing you. So I tried to keep you close by controlling your choices, by insisting you follow my path. And in trying to keep you, I drove you away. I never stopped needing you, Dad. I just needed you to trust me. I know that now, but I learned it too late." Ayumi stood and bent over the bed, carefully wrapping her arms around her father. "It's not too late. We're here now. We're talking. That's something." Kenji's arms came around her, and for the first time in 17 years, father and daughter held each other. Naomi, who had been standing quietly near the door, felt tears streaming down her own face. She thought about her own father, who'd left when she was 8, and how she'd never gotten this chance to make peace with him. A soft knock interrupted the moment. Daniel stood in the doorway, his expression apologetic. "I'm sorry to intrude, but there's a situation. The federal marshals are here. They found out Kenji was admitted and they're demanding to speak with him." Ayumi's expression hardened instantly. He just had a cardiac episode. They can't take him anywhere. They're not trying to take him, but they do have the court order for evaluation, and they're saying hospital staff can conduct it here. Absolutely not. He needs rest, not interrogation. I agree, but legally, they have authority. Kenji struggled to sit up. "It is all right, Ayumi. Let them come. I will answer their questions and be done with it." "No, you're in a hospital bed. You're not fit for any kind of evaluation right now." "Your father's right," the doctor said, entering behind Daniel. "Any cognitive evaluation in his current state would be medically invalid. He's on medications that can affect mental clarity, he's recovering from a cardiac event, and he's exhausted. I'll tell the marshals they'll have to wait at least 24 hours. "Thank you," Ayumi said. The doctor nodded and left to speak with the authorities. Kenji sank back against the pillows. "This will not end. The company will continue to pursue me until the board meeting passes and they can vote me out. Then let them vote you out," Ayumi said fiercely. "You said no more company before family. Here's your chance to prove it. If I lose the company, I lose everything I built. But you'll have your daughter. Isn't that worth more?" Kenji looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his expression shifted. The fear and regret melted away, replaced by something that looked like peace. "Yes, it is worth more. It is worth everything." Naomi's phone buzzed with a text from Jordan. "The marshals are talking to some guy in a suit who just showed up. Looks important." She showed the message to Daniel, who frowned and stepped out to investigate. When he returned minutes later, his expression was strange, somewhere between confusion and amusement. "You're not going to believe this. Marcus Webb is here, the restaurant owner. He brought his lawyer, and they're threatening to sue the marshals for harassment." "What?" Naomi couldn't process this. "Why would he do that?" "Apparently, after you left the restaurant, several customers who witnessed what happened contacted local news. The story went viral. Social media picked it up. People are calling Bellevue Heights the restaurant that disrespected a billionaire. Webb is hemorrhaging business, and he's trying to salvage his reputation by publicly defending Kenji. So he's using this situation for publicity," Ayumi said bitterly. "Maybe, or maybe he actually feels guilty. Either way, his lawyer is arguing that pursuing Kenji during a medical emergency constitutes harassment and is creating a legal circus that's delaying medical care." Kenji closed his eyes. The world is very strange sometimes. "Rest," Ayumi commanded. "Whatever happens with the company, with the marshals, with all of it, we'll deal with it when you're stronger." But Kenji had one more thing to say. He looked at Naomi, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Carter-san, you gave me my daughter back. How can I ever repay such a gift? You already did. You protected my brother. You showed me that kindness still exists in the world. That's payment enough. It is not enough. When I am well, when this chaos is finished, I would like to discuss your future. I believe I have a proposition that might interest you." Before Naomi could ask what he meant, alarms suddenly blared from the monitors. Kenji's heart rate spiked erratically on the screen. "Dad!" Nurses rushed in, pushing Ayumi and Naomi aside. The doctor returned, her calm demeanor now urgent. "I need everyone out. Now." Ayumi tried to stay, but Daniel gently pulled her toward the door. They stumbled into the hallway as medical staff surrounded Kenji's bed, their movements swift and coordinated. "What's happening?" Ayumi's voice was panicked. "What's wrong?" The door closed, blocking their view, and they could do nothing but wait. The hours that followed blurred together. Midnight came and went. Hospital staff changed shifts. The waiting room gradually emptied until only Naomi's group remained, survivors of a strange shared experience that had bound them together. Jordan had fallen asleep across 3 chairs, his jacket bunched under his head as a pillow. Daniel dozed intermittently, his phone clutched in his hand in case of updates. Ayumi sat rigid and awake, her eyes fixed on the emergency department doors. Naomi brought her coffee from the vending machine, terrible and lukewarm, but caffeinated. "Thank you." Ayumi took it without drinking. "You don't have to stay, you know. You've already done so much. I want to be here. Why? You barely know us. Naomi considered the question. A few days ago, I was just a waitress working 2 jobs and trying to keep my brother out of trouble. I didn't think anything I did mattered much beyond making it through each day. But your father saw me when no one else did. He treated me like I had value. And then he risked everything to help Jordan, a kid he didn't even know. She paused. People like that are rare. I'm not leaving until I know he's okay. Ayumi's eyes glistened. He would have been a better father if he'd known people like you existed. Maybe then he wouldn't have wasted so much time on people who only valued his money. Maybe he had to waste that time to appreciate what really matters now. At 3 a.m, the doctor finally emerged. She looked exhausted, but cautiously optimistic. He's stable. The arrhythmia was caused by stress and medication interaction. We've adjusted his treatment, and his heart rhythm has normalized. He's sleeping now, and barring any complications, he should make a full recovery. Ayumi sagged with relief. Can I see him in the morning? Right now, he needs uninterrupted rest. Go home, get some sleep, and come back after 8. I promise we'll call if anything changes. They had no choice but to comply. Daniel drove them all back to Ayumi's apartment as dawn was just beginning to paint the sky pink and gold. Jordan woke up confused, asking questions that Naomi answered in soft tones. At Ayumi's building, they all stumbled inside, too tired to speak. Ayumi made up the couch for Naomi and Jordan, found spare blankets and pillows, and they all collapsed into exhausted sleep. When Naomi woke, sunlight streamed through the tall windows. The scent of coffee filled the apartment. She checked her phone, 10:30 in the morning. She'd slept for 5 hours. Ayumi sat at her dining table, still wearing yesterday's clothes, a mug of coffee cradled in her hands. She looked like she hadn't slept at all. The hospital called 20 minutes ago, she said without preamble. He's awake and asking for me. And for you. For me. He specifically asked if Carter-san was here. They drove back to Memorial Hospital, Jordan choosing to stay at the apartment with Daniel, who was making phone calls about the legal situation. The drive was quiet, both women lost in their own thoughts. Kenji looked better in the morning light. Color had returned to his face, and though he still had oxygen and monitors attached, his eyes were clear and focused. Carter-san, Ayumi, good morning. How are you feeling? Naomi asked, like a foolish old man who does not know his own limits. He smiled weakly, but grateful to be alive. Ayumi took her usual position beside his bed. The doctor says you'll need to stay another day or 2. No arguments. I would not dare argue with you. Kenji looked between them. I have been thinking all night about priorities and choices, about what truly matters. Dad, you should rest, not think. Rest and thinking are not mutually exclusive, and I have made a decision. He pressed a button to raise his bed slightly. I am not returning to Japan for the board meeting. Ayumi's eyes widened. What? They want to force me out? Let them. I built that company from nothing, and it became a monster that consumed my life. Perhaps it is time to let it go. But it's everything you worked for. No, it was everything I chose over you, over your mother, over any chance of real happiness. And I am tired, Ayumi. I'm tired of fighting men who see only profit and power. I'm tired of missing what matters while chasing what does not. So you're just giving up? I'm choosing differently. There's a difference. Kenji turned to Naomi. Carter-san, I mentioned yesterday that I had a proposition. I would like to discuss it now, if you are willing. Of course. You speak Japanese fluently. You understand cultural nuances that most Americans miss. You have grace, intelligence, and most importantly, genuine compassion for others. These are rare qualities, especially in the corporate world. Naomi had no idea where this was going. I am stepping down as CEO of Takahara Technologies, but I still own controlling shares, and I still have influence over company direction. I would like to establish a new division focused on cultural exchange programs, international relations, and corporate humanitarian initiatives. He paused, and I would like you to lead it. Naomi stared at him. I'm sorry, what? The position would be Chief Cultural Liaison. You would oversee programs that bring Japanese and American workers together, facilitate understanding between cultures, and ensure that the company remembers that business is ultimately about people, not just profit. Mr. Takahara, I'm a waitress. I didn't even finish college. You are a woman who speaks 2 languages, who sacrificed her education to care for her family, who showed kindness to a stranger when no one else would, and who has more wisdom in her compassion than most executives have in their entire careers. Kenji's voice was firm despite his weakness. Your brother's tuition will be covered. You will receive a substantial salary, full benefits, and the resources to build something meaningful. All I ask is that you bring your authentic self to the work. Tears filled Naomi's eyes. I don't know what to say. Say you will consider it. This is crazy, Ayumi said, but she was smiling. You're offering her an executive position after knowing her for 3 days? I knew within 3 minutes that she was extraordinary. The following days simply confirmed it. Kenji looked at his daughter. You asked me to choose family over company. This is me choosing. I am building something new, something that honors people instead of using them. And I need people I can trust to help me do it. A soft knock interrupted them. Daniel stood in the doorway with someone Naomi didn't recognize, a distinguished woman in a business suit carrying a leather briefcase. Mr. Takahara, this is Jennifer Walsh. She's a corporate attorney I've been working with. She has news about the board meeting. The lawyer stepped forward. Mr. Takahara, I'm pleased to inform you that the hostile takeover attempt has collapsed. My firm has been investigating the investor consortium for 6 months on suspicion of securities, fraud, and market manipulation. This morning, federal prosecutors filed charges against the 3 primary investors. The SEC has frozen their assets, and the board has called an emergency meeting to restructure leadership. Kenji absorbed this information slowly. So the threat is over? Completely. The board is actually asking if you would be willing to remain as CEO, given your reputation for integrity. Tell them I decline, but I will remain on the board in an advisory capacity. He glanced at Ayumi. I have other priorities now. The lawyer nodded and excused herself. When she left, Ayumi leaned back in her chair, looking stunned. So that's it. It's just over. Not over. Changed. Everything is changed. Kenji looked at Naomi again. Will you consider my offer, Carter-san? Naomi thought about the grocery store, about scanning items and making small talk, about the restaurant job she'd lost, about working 2 jobs and barely making ends meet while Jordan struggled with tuition. She thought about her mother, who'd always told her that education and compassion were the greatest gifts she could give the world. I'll consider it, she said, but I have one condition. Name it. The program doesn't just help corporate employees. It includes scholarships for students who can't afford study abroad programs. Kids like I was, who have potential but no resources. Kenji's smile was radiant. I would be honored to include that. Jordan appeared in the doorway, breathless. Naomi, you're not going to believe this. That restaurant owner, Marcus Webb, he's downstairs. He wants to talk to you. What does he want? He wouldn't say, but he seems kind of desperate. Naomi excused herself and found Marcus in the main lobby, pacing nervously. When he saw her, relief flooded his face. Naomi, thank God. I need to apologize. Publicly, privately, however you'll accept it. What happened in my restaurant was inexcusable. He pulled out his phone and showed her headlines. Restaurant discrimination goes viral. Billionaire snubbed by staff. Bellevue Heights under fire. I'm not looking for revenge, Marcus. I know, but I am looking for redemption. Ethan represented everything wrong with this industry. The focus on appearance over character, on wealth over human decency. I want to change that. He took a breath. I'd like to offer you your job back. As assistant manager, triple your previous salary. And I want to implement staff training on cultural sensitivity and respect for all customers. Naomi considered this. I appreciate the offer, but I just received another opportunity that I think I'm going to accept. Marcus looked disappointed, but unsurprised. I understand. You deserve better than what we gave you. But if you ever need a reference, or if that other opportunity doesn't work out, my door is open. Thank you. That means a lot. As Marcus left, Naomi returned to Kenji's room. Ayumi was showing her father photos on her phone, images of her artwork and gallery shows. He studied each one with intense focus, making up for years of missed exhibitions and minutes of attention. This one, he said, pointing to a calligraphy piece that blended Japanese characters with English words. What does it say? Home is not where you start, but where you choose to return. Ayumi's voice was soft. I created it right after Mom died. I was so angry at you, but also so lost without her. It is beautiful. Your mother would have loved it. I know. I made it for her. Daniel cleared his throat from the doorway. I hate to interrupt this moment, but I have someone else here to see Mr. Takahara. She says she's Mrs. Yamamoto, the librarian. The elderly Japanese woman entered slowly, leaning on a cane. Her face lit up when she saw Kenji. Takahara-san, I heard about your heart. I was so worried. Yamamoto-san, thank you for coming. Kenji bowed as much as his position allowed. Thank you for keeping my wife's letters safe all these years. She made me promise to give it to you when the time was right. I believe the time was very right. Mrs. Yamamoto looked at Ayumi. You must be Ayumi-chan. Your mother showed me so many photos. You look just like her. Ayumi stood and bowed deeply. Thank you for helping my father find me. I did nothing. Carter-san did all the important work. The old woman smiled at Naomi. You have a gift for bringing families together. The room grew quiet, filled with a peace that felt hard-earned and precious. Kenji's voice was weak but content. I came to this city to find my daughter, but I found so much more. I found kindness from a stranger. I found second chances. I found what truly matters. He looked around at the gathered faces. I found family. 3 months later, Naomi stood in a small Japanese garden that Kenji had commissioned in a public park. Cherry blossom trees were just beginning to bloom, their pink petals drifting in a gentle breeze. Jordan sat on a wooden bench, his laptop open, working on a paper for his computer science class. His scholarship had come through, thanks to Kenji's new cultural exchange program. The men who'd threatened him had been convicted on drug charges and weren't a concern anymore. Ayumi was teaching a calligraphy workshop nearby. Her students gathered around as she demonstrated brushstrokes. She and Kenji had dinner every Sunday now, slowly rebuilding what had been broken. Daniel stopped by occasionally, having become an unexpected friend to their unusual family. And Kenji sat beside Naomi on another bench, looking healthier than he had in the hospital, but moving more carefully, more mindfully. How was your first week as chief cultural liaison? He asked. Overwhelming, exciting, terrifying. Naomi smiled. Perfect. You will do remarkable things. I have no doubt. I couldn't have done any of this without you, and I would be dead or alone without you. It seems we saved each other. They sat in comfortable silence, watching petals fall like snow around them. You know, Naomi said softly, a few months ago, I thought my life was just about survival. Working, paying bills, getting through each day. I never imagined it could be more than that. Sometimes we cannot imagine what is possible until someone shows us. You showed me what was possible, Carter-san. You showed me that it is never too late to choose what matters. Ayumi called out from her workshop, waving them over. Jordan closed his laptop and joined them. Daniel arrived with takeout from a nearby restaurant. They gathered together in the garden. This unlikely family formed by chance and choice, by kindness and courage. Kenji raised his cup of tea. To new beginnings. To second chances, Ayumi added. To family, Naomi said. Wherever we find it. Their cups touched in a gentle toast. And in that moment, surrounded by falling cherry blossoms and the people who had become her family, Naomi understood that her mother had been right all along. Compassion was the greatest gift, and sometimes showing it to a stranger could change everything. If you had to choose between everything you've built and the family you've lost, which would you pick before it's too late? If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about second chances, unlikely connections, and the power of choosing what truly matters.